How does an empire that lasted for over 600 years, a true colossus of history, just disappear? It wasn't some slow, drawn-out fade into obscurity. Nope. It was one single, absolutely catastrophic decision that sealed its fate.
And this quote, wow, it just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? We are talking about a moment so pivotal. It sent a dynasty that once had Europe trembling in its boots, hurtling straight towards extinction.
All right, so to really get this, we gotta rewind to the early 20th century. The once mighty Ottoman Empire was in some serious trouble. So much so that it earned a nickname it just couldn't shake: the sick man of Europe.
I mean, think about it. For more than 600 years, this empire was an absolute powerhouse. It stretched all the way from the gates of Vienna down to the Arabian deserts. It wasn't just old, it was a fundamental piece of the world as we knew it. But, well, all of that was about to change.
Yeah, that glorious past was fading fast. By the early 1900s, the empire was really just a shadow of its former self. It was shrinking, losing territory left and right, and dealing with all kinds of nationalist movements from within. It was still a giant for sure, but a giant on some very, very shaky legs.
And on top of all that, just look at the pressure from the outside. As World War I started to bubble up, the Ottomans were literally surrounded. You had Russia, Britain, France, all of them ancient rivals who had been eyeing Ottoman lands for centuries. For the Ottomans, staying neutral didn't feel like a safe bet. It felt like an open invitation to get carved up like a Thanksgiving turkey.
So, this incredible pressure sent the empire's leaders, this powerful trio of military officers known as the Three Pashas, on a desperate hunt for an ally, anyone really, who could guarantee they'd survive.
And seriously, just put yourself in their shoes for a second. Every single one of your powerful neighbors sees you as a target. Your own empire is fragile. If you do nothing, you could face total extinction. What choice do you even have?
Well, their first move was to reach out to the British, who had the most powerful navy in the world. And the answer? A hard no. The first door was slammed right in their face.
Okay, so next up, they tried their luck with France, another one of the major Allied powers. The response this time? Nothing. Crickets. Their pleas were completely ignored. That feeling of isolation was getting worse and worse. And Russia? Come on. Russia was the country that came up with the whole sick man of Europe nickname in the first place. They didn't see a potential partner, they saw a territory that was ripe for the picking. So here's the key takeaway. After being shunned by all the allies, the Ottoman Empire had only one potential friend left.
With every other door closed and locked, a really strange opportunity just sort of appeared. And it was one that would force an impossible, world-changing decision. Out of the blue, two of Germany's most advanced warships, on the run from the British fleet, showed up in Ottoman waters asking for a safe harbor. This wasn't some polite diplomatic note. This was a crisis, armed with massive cannons showing up right on their doorstep. And this was the terrible dilemma they faced. If they helped the German ships, Britain and France would see it as an act of war. But if they turned them away, they'd tick off Germany, their last and only hope for an alliance. There was simply no safe option. So, they got clever. Or at least, they thought they did. They chose a path of deception. They told the world they had purchased the German warships to modernize their own navy. But it was all a sham. The German crews? They never left. They just swapped their German hats for an Ottoman fez and waited for their real orders. And those orders came on October 29th. The new Ottoman ships, still under German command, launched a surprise attack on Russian ports in the Black Sea. The fallout was immediate, and it was catastrophic. Just look at this timeline. In less than a week, the empire was officially at war with all the major powers that had just rejected them. The trap was sprung. That single decision, born out of pure desperation, threw the empire into a war it was tragically, dangerously unprepared to fight. And the price? The price would be unimaginable. The human cost was felt right away. In the freezing mountains of eastern Anatolia, an entire army was sent to fight the Russians in the middle of winter, but they had no proper supplies. We're talking tens of thousands of soldiers freezing to death, many before they even laid eyes on the enemy. And on other fronts, the failure was just as grim. Ottoman soldiers were ordered to march into the blistering deserts of the Middle East with almost no water. It became a war not just against the enemy, but against nature itself.
And this disaster was happening everywhere. I mean, they put up a heroic but incredibly bloody defense at Gallipoli. A British-backed Arab revolt ignited their southern provinces. And back home, well, the empire just collapsed from the inside out, crushed by famine, disease, and total economic ruin.
By the time the guns finally went silent in 1918, the Ottoman Empire was broken, completely beyond repair. And its end didn't come in some final, glorious battle. It came with the quiet stroke of a pen.
The final nail in the coffin was the Treaty of Severus. This is the document that officially wiped the Ottoman Empire off the map. It carved up all its territories and handed them over to the victorious Allies. What was once a power spanning 3 continents was reduced to just a small piece of land in Anatolia.
And that, right there, is the ultimate lesson in this whole story. The empire wasn't really conquered in the traditional way. It basically committed suicide. It was backed into a corner and chose an alliance that led it straight into a war it could never, ever win.
So it leaves you with this one final, kind of haunting question. Sure, other things were going on, but the evidence is pretty overwhelming. One fateful choice, one desperate gamble to survive, is what ultimately erased a 600-year legacy from the face of the earth.